correctly blamed on the eruption. Weather in Washington, D.C. today is cloudy with highs in the 50s. Tonight, still cloudy with lows down into the 40s. And tomorrow, expect some showers with highs back into the 50s. It's currently 55 degrees and cloudy. For WPFW News, I'm Chris Bangert-Drowns. Stay tuned. Up next, To Your Health with Dr. Ted Watkins. This is WPFW, Washington.
Rosemary in the bag, tied around my neck for my protection. I'm walking around, big old sack on my back, coming in your direction. What kind of tea do you like? I got it. I'm the medicine man, herb from the land, yeah. Oh, I'm the herb man, come see me. Oh, I'm the herb man, you all come see me. See, rosemary, calm your nerves, got peppermint leaf to get rid of my fever. I keep periwinkle to get some love now. Whoa, I gotta hug me close to make my backbone strong. Gold cola tonic for my blood, dandelion for my bone, y'all. Alkali to keep away flies. Hot lady cayenne for my pressure. Oh, I'm the herb man, come see me. Oh, I'm the herb man, you all come see me. Get the children out of the way now. No, you can't smoke this, sir. This is for salad.
Salad. Good afternoon. This is Dr. Ted Watkins, and welcome to another program of To Your Health. And we're excited today to take off where we left off at some point last year. We had our distinguished guest with us last year, Dr. Terry Victor, and we are so excited to have you back, Dr. Victor. We only got a chance to scratch the surface last time.
Thank you so much for having me back. I really appreciate it.
Well, you know, for those who do not know, Dr. Victor is a his brochure says that he's a holistic, biological, and eco-friendly dentistry practice. He has an eco-friendly dentistry practice. And those who know Dr. Victor has a tremendous reputation in the D.C. area. He's a graduate of Howard University College of Dentistry. Now, Dr. Victor, I know you said it last time, but, you know, when you talk about holistic or biological dentistry, what are you talking about?
Well,
I mean, just pulling the teeth, man. Do some fillings.
I think what we talk about really is looking at the patient in a holistic way. You know, that to see that the patient's mouth is connected to the rest of the patient's body.
What?
And yes.
What a novel idea.
And those things that happen in the patient's mouth can have an effect on the patient's body, and those things that happen in the patient's body can have an effect on the patient's mouth. So we like to look at the patient as a whole, and we like to put things together so that we're able to treat that patient in a holistic way. So, you know, if that might be, let's say, talking to the patient's physician, talking to the patient's cardiologist, talking to the patient's different aspects of the patients, because the patient is the same patient, whether they're seeing me, whether they're seeing you, it's the same person.
So you're talking about just being a good doctor.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Because there's a lot of things in dentistry that could have a detrimental effect on the patient's health.
Because normally, you know, when you go into a dentist, you think that they will inspect your teeth, they'll do some x-rays, you know, and then they'll start filling and pulling.
Yeah.
But you go further than that.
Yes, we do go much further than that. So you have to look at you have to
Not
look
further,
at the patient.
much further. All right. I pick up.
Yeah, so you have to really look and see. And you know what? I agree with you. It's just being a good doctor and just being very observant on what it is that's happening with the patient. So I'll give you an example today. This patient came in and she had a lot of bone loss. We took her X-rays and she had a lot of bone loss. And one of the first things that I asked her was, does she have any issues with diabetes? Because it really looked like there was something else that was happening there. So you have to be able to kind of like, I guess, see what is happening with the patient.
So if she had some issue with diabetes, how would that impact your approach from a dental perspective?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that makes a big difference, because what happens is when people have diabetes, they don't heal as well as they normally would. So if you did an extraction, you would have to make sure that patient doesn't get an infection or something like that. And people with diabetes tend to have a lot of bone loss. So a lot of times they have their teeth are loose. And a lot of times patients with diabetes tend to have a lot of periodontal disease. The relationship between diabetes and periodontal disease is very, very strong.
So if their diabetes is better controlled, then that can impact the health of their mouth.
Oh, definitely. Yes, definitely. So if you, what happens is that if they're able to keep that infection under control, the inflammation under control, then what ends up happening is that their mouth gets better. Because like I said, the system is a closed system. And if something is good happening in their body, it's going to translate to their mouth.
And from a medical perspective, when you say inflammation and diabetes, I think, wow, if a patient has inflammation, it's going to make the diabetes worse. And so there's a balance there.
Yeah, yes, definitely. So what happens with, like, there's a really big correlation between diabetes and periodontal disease. So, and heart disease, actually. So what happens is when you have periodontal disease, it starts the inflammatory process. And then the inflammatory process goes to the heart, and it's, it triggers the whole trigger that there is, I'm sure, as you know, the whole inflammation process, and that is detrimental to the whole body.
One of my frequent guests is Dr. Dewan Drakes, and I need to get him on soon this year. But Dewan is past chairman of cardiovascular surgery at Howard, and he made the point one time that cholesterol was not the number one factor associated with heart disease. It was inflammation.
Yes.
And he looked at a study that was actually commissioned by Medicare, where they found that people who had who died of heart disease, all right, that only about 40-some% had elevated cholesterol, but 80-some% had elevated inflammation in their bodies. And so this inflammation thing you're talking about is critical for diabetes, is critical for heart disease, everything. But
exactly.
Dr. Victor gave me a little brochure here, and this is a dentist, and here in bold it's talking about 80% of all strokes can be prevented. Now what does the dentist got to do with strokes, man?
A dentist has a lot to do with strokes. The same inflammation that we're talking about, the cardiovascular disease, because that's what cardiovascular disease is about, is really about inflammation and infection. So if you touch your gums and your gums bleed, or you brush your teeth and your gums bleed, that's a real serious issue. If that would happen with your arm, Dr. Watkins, if you touch your arm and all of a sudden it was bleeding, you would run to the doctor.
Yes.
But people, their gums bleed and it just bleeds just by them brushing their teeth, and they think nothing of it.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty serious issue, because it means that something is happening to cause you to bleed like that. And usually it's infection and inflammation, and that runs throughout the body, and it causes a real problem, and it can be taken care of so easily at our office.
I remember in med school, I think it was my freshman year, they were talking about how something can go from the mouth straight to the brain.
Oh, yeah.
And you're gone.
Yeah.
The number here is 202-588-0893, 202-588-0893. This is Dr. Ted Watkins. Our guest today is Terry Victor. Dr. Victor. Dr. Victor is a holistic, biological, eco-friendly dentist. And when we think about holistic dentistry, one of the things that always pops up is this thing about mercury fillings. Now, what's the deal?
Well, mercury is we believe mercury is a substance that's pretty toxic. So in the amalgam fillings, those are what they call silver fillings, or the dark ones. It's about 54% mercury. So mercury is something that we think really it could cause us a real problem in our bodies. And one of the things that's very interesting is that one of the largest sources of toxicity in our city wastewater comes from dental offices and
I was reading
fillings.
that.
Yeah. So the FDA now and the American Dental Association has mandated that you need an amalgam separator, which separates the mercury out from going into the city wastewater. We've been doing that for probably about 15 years that we've had an amalgam separator. But I'm glad that they're able to mandate that, because it means that less of that mercury is going to be going into the city wastewater, and less of it for us.
So why is it important? I mean, a little bit of mercury, I mean, no big deal.
Mercury is if there's anything, if there's something that you don't want to put in your body that's not natural, then you shouldn't do it. It's just like, there's so much plastics around that gets into our bodies. There's so much, all these different things that gets into our bodies which really have no place in our bodies, and our body doesn't know what to do with it. So sometimes it packages it so it becomes cancer. Sometimes it packages it so it becomes inflammation, becomes heart disease. Because it's hard to get rid of those things. So if it doesn't go in at all, that makes a big difference for us.
But then I've read that when you go to take it out, that then you can actually make the body even more toxic. So how do you take it out without making it worse?
Yeah, we use some protocols in taking the mercury fillings out, so that we're able to do it so it doesn't cause, maybe you don't get all of the vapors that you would get with that. But then then my question, when you just said that, my question is that if it's causing some problems coming out, shouldn't it also cause problems when it's there?
When it stays
it's
in.
the same material that's there. So why are we more concerned with taking it out than we are concerned with it actually being there? You know what I mean? Because that's an issue also.
202-588-0893, 202-588-0893. Let's go to the phones. Just call her. You're on the line.
Good afternoon, Dr. Watkins.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I have a question for Dr. Victor.
Yeah.
I have a 17-year-old who started having pain, drinking cold stuff, and took him to the doctor, the dentist, and they said that he needs a root canal because he has some decay at the bottom. They did X-ray and everything, and I'm just concerned, what's the best thing to do? I mean, is there anything that he can do besides, they say he has to get a root canal done, but if there's some stuff that they put in there that's going to create problems later on.
Yeah.
Okay, before you answer that, could you tell us what a root canal is?
Oh, yes. Very good. Very good. A root canal so our tooth is a live part of our body. It's not dead. What it does is that it has inside of your tooth has blood vessels, nerves, arteries, and it exchanges with the body. If the body needs to have like some, let's say, antibiotic type body things go in there and clean some stuff up, it can go into the tooth and then it could come back out. What a root canal does is that it goes in and it takes out all of that. It takes out the blood vessels, the nerves, the arteries, and replaces it with a filling. So there's no longer a connection between the tooth and the rest of the body. That's really what a root canal is.
That doesn't sound good.
Yeah, well, in some instances you can do a root canal. At our office, we really prefer not to do it if we're able to not have to do it. And I would, in your case, caller, I would have to really see what it is that's happening with that patient in order to make a determination. There's been times where we've been able to do some other types of procedures where we're able to stop a root canal from happening if you're able to use some of these materials that are like healing for the nerves and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's what excellent question, caller. Is there things that we can do to regenerate, to stop the downward slide and actually reverse the process?
Oh yes, certainly. If you have issues with like cavities and that sort of things. There's some things that you can do. Once it gets to a particular point where there's like a point of no return, really, you have to do something about it. But a lot of times, if you're able to catch it and you're able to catch it early, that you're able to do, there's a lot of things that you can do.
So what is the problem that's leading to this, where you need to get, quote, a root canal?
A root canal is it's determined you have to get a root canal if the nerve of the tooth is exposed. So the nerve of the tooth that's inside of a tooth sits in like a sealed chamber. If that chamber is violated at all or it's open at all, they say that you need to have a root canal. But there's some procedures that you can do even if the chamber has been violated. If you can put some different materials on there, sometimes you can get away with that nerve regenerating itself and not having to get a root canal, depending on the situation.
And can you do things to get the base, the internal aspects of the mouth to heal itself?
Oh, certainly. I would think that generally speaking, if you're able to get the body in good shape, for example, if somebody that's healthy, if you eat well, if you take care of your teeth, if you brush and floss and all of those things, then it's a much better way to do your dental care than to come to the dentist and get dental work done. So I would encourage your listeners that we really want to get our patients in prevention and maintenance is really what we want to do. If you get into prevention and maintenance, you just come to the office and get your teeth clean. For us, that's the ideal way to do it. Because there's a lot of things that, and I'm sure
it's also less expensive.
It's also less expensive. It's very true. It's also less expensive. It's less traumatic. It's like, it's much better all the way around.
So, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The number, once again, the number is 202-588-0893, 202-588-0893. So, we also, I understand that in holistic dentistry, you're concerned about nutrition.
Oh, yes.
Why is that? Yeah.
Well, nutrition is very important. Overall, for the body's function, nutrition is very important. So in holistic dentistry, where we see the patient as a whole, if the patient's body is well taken care of, if it's well fed, if your nutrition is good, your exercise is good, your sleep is good, all of those things would, generally speaking, in a general sort of way, those people don't have a lot of dental problems, to be honest with you. But if your diet is full of sugar, if you eat a lot of the white flours, white sugar, all of that sort of thing, I tend to see more that you have a problem in that particular aspect of it also.
So you mentioned in that answer, you mentioned exercise.
Oh, very
exercise
much, yeah.
can improve the health of the mouth?
Yeah. Exercise, yes, can improve the health of the body and therefore improve the health of the mouth. Yes, certainly. So you see what happens.
So it sort of makes sense, huh?
Yeah. So you see that you get more an increase of blood flow when you're able to exercise and stuff is able to move properly. Then you see, like, most likely those patients don't have as many issues as you would say in other types of patients.
Once again, we're talking to Dr. Victor. Dr. Terry Victor. Dr. Victor is a holistic dentist that is helping us to understand what we need to do to take care of our mouths. The number here, of course, is 202-588-0893, 202-588-0893. Let's go back to our phones. Yes, caller, you're on the line.
Yes, hi, Dr. Watkins and Dr. Victor. Good afternoon to both of you, and appreciate the discussion today. I had a comment and a question. My comment is, I think there's a conspiracy on toothbrushes to make us buy more of them, because they don't seem to last as long as they used to last. And my question is, how long should a toothbrush or how often should we replace our toothbrushes?
Well,
I'll take a comment off the end. Thank you.
Yes, that's a very good question, because we generally recommend you replace your toothbrush every 3 months. But what happens is, like, if you have, let's say you have a cold or you've been sick for a while, then I would probably recommend that you change your toothbrush more often, because you don't want the bacteria that was in your mouth when you're brushing with that tooth, once you get well, to put it back into your tooth once you're better. Once you're sick, you don't want the same bacteria to put it back into your mouth once you get well.
Mercy. That's amazing. You know, I was reading some things, thinking about our program today, and one of the things that came out was this thing of biocompatibility. Mm-hmm. Biocompatibility, oral galvanism.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Yeah. You know, that's a very interesting topic, the galvanism. So what galvanism, the theory of galvanism in dentistry, what it says is that you shouldn't have, let me back up. A battery, how you get electrical potential from a battery is from having one type of metal, another type of metal in an aqueous solution. Mm-hmm. So those two have like an electrical potential and you can get electrical spark. So the theory says that in dentistry is the same thing. If you have one type of metal, let's say you have a crown, that's one type of metal, and then you have a filling, that's another type of metal, all in an aqueous solution, which is the saliva in your mouth, you can have an electrical potential. And our whole body runs on electrical potential from our, how our muscles move, how our emotions are, our brain function, all of that is electrical potential. So they say that is something that you should try to avoid in dentistry. And you know what is interesting? That is something that is not even really all that holistic. They teach you that in dental school about this whole galvanic action. So that I find is pretty interesting.
You never think about this. You know, when you're doing chemistry, that this could be going on in your mouth.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot that goes on in your mouth that could really affect your body.
202-588-0893. 202-588-0893. Let's go back to our phones. Yes, caller, you're on the line.
Yes, Dr. Watkins.
Yes.
This is your favorite patient, the glorified janitor.
All right.
I was listening to your friend Dr. Victor.
Yes.
And he may be a good dentist, but he's a little shaky as far as I'm concerned, because we were at his office getting dental work, and we were all Medicaid. He got us the right reports, and then he kicked us all off.
I'm sorry, you could say that again. You were all what?
We were all terminated from your office.
Why is that?
That's what I'd like to know. Why would you take all the Medicaid people off your?
Medicaid. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know what you said.
So that's a different issue. I don't take Medicaid. You know, I took DC Medicaid for years and years, and they never paid me, and I still treated the patients. Yeah. And then they start paying, and they said I got to reapply. I said, forget you, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. You know, so that's a different issue. And you know, when you're actually in practice, you'll find out there are some business aspects of practice, you know, and one has to decide if you're going to take what insurances you take. The only insurance I take is Medicare. Yeah. You know, so does that make me a bad doctor? I don't think so.
I had the same issues that you had, Dr. Watkins. I took Medicaid for years, and I would treat all of those patients, and I would treat those patients the same way that you would treat your paying patients. Yes. I don't treat anybody any differently. But it came to the point where Medicaid, it just couldn't function any longer. They would not pay you, and then you would still see the patients, and then I have to keep the office open, you know. So there's a lot of different dentists that are out there that Medicaid patients can go to, you know. And I think that we did quite a lot for our Medicaid patients.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we need to do, we need to look at the government and what the government is or is not doing, because I'm telling you, it's a big deal. I mean, for years, I treated Medicaid patients for years. 202-588-0893, 202-588-0893. Give us a call with any questions or comments. We're going to go back to the phones. Yes, caller, you're on the line. Yes, caller, you're on the line.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi. Yes, Dr. Victor, I have a question
Certainly.
concerning, you made a statement about inflammation. I never had any problem with my teeth. I have reached the big 70s now, and I've only been a vegetarian for 45 years, eating the right diet. And one thing I always did, make sure I took care of my teeth.
Mm-hmm.
But I was wondering, I went to a doctor, a dentist, and before I knew I was in the chair, she said, "Oh, we got to do a root canal." I went in just to get a partial made of one tooth that's fallen out. She never explained to me why I need to have this root canal.
Mm-hmm.
And after I had the root canal, she put the teeth in, the plate. But then the cap, she's got a cap on, the cap kept falling off. And now I'm have two teeth that are falling, and the partial was no good. But my question about the inflammation, I have arthritis, and I know I have inflammation of the joints. So that has a effect on, you said it has a great effect on your teeth?
I think that inflammation is not limited to one particular part of your body. It's likely that if you have inflammation in your joints, that they don't just stay in your joints, but the inflammation can move throughout your body. So what I would say is that to check, if you're interested in that, is to check to see if there's if you can find any inflammation that's in your mouth, and you should be able to do that just simply by going to a dentist.
So you could examine her.
Well, I changed dentists now, and I do charcoal, a lot of charcoal. I rinse and try to get the bacteria. I do a lot of fasting and cleansing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand how all of a sudden I'm getting all this stuff when I really lead away from dentists all my life, because I went to dental school first. I thought I wanted to be a dentist, and that's one thing I didn't want to do. I took care of my teeth. Okay. That's why now I'm having trouble in my 70s, and I didn't understand why. So now I do have inflammation of the joint.
Okay.
So you're saying, how do you check whether you have inflammation in your mouth?
So if you have inflammation in your joints, then there's inflammation in the body, and the dentist would have to take a look at it. So if you have to say that you're not sure how there's inflammation that's happening in your body, it's in the joints. So if it's in the joints, it's possible that the inflammation could be in other parts of your body. I think that there's a lot of different diseases that are out there that are inflammation based, and they just, depending on what part of your body is in, they call it something different. So whether it's inflammation in your joints, if inflammation in the blood vessels, inflammation in the heart, all of those things are inflammation is inflammation. So there might be something that you might want to do to adjust, maybe in the diet that you're doing, or some other things that you need to do to adjust it so that inflammation can be decreased that's in your joints.
So I'm doing a lot of natural stuff, but what about, is there something specific you can do for the mouth as far as holistic? What you're saying, I know it's in my joints,
mm-hmm.
but I'm working on that with the turmeric. All this, Dr. Watkins is one of my doctors.
All right.
So I've been working on this for years, but now all of a sudden I'm having, maybe it's worse. So I'm doing a lot of natural stuff. But what about, is there something specific you can do? I can't hear you.
Yeah. So is there something specific you can do for the mouth?
Like
she mentioned the charcoal. Does that pull out some of the inflammation and so forth?
I don't, usually for charcoal, what I've known charcoal to be for that people use in their mouth is they use it as a form of a whitening for your teeth, but not necessarily anything that would take care of inflammation.
It's a detox. It is a detox.
If you gargle with charcoal, I mean, that may do, but I understand that it's an abrasive, and so it could actually damage the teeth if you brush with charcoal. Is that true?
Yeah. No, not really. Our teeth are the enamel on our teeth are very, very strong. And for you to use a toothbrush and to cause some abrasion, it's not likely. But what you have to do is you have to watch that you don't cause damage to your gums, because you can cause some damage to your gums, but not necessarily your teeth. There's lots of things that you can do for inflammation that's in the mouth. I mean, one of the most simple basic things that you can do is to get your teeth cleaned, and whether that's a deep cleaning or whether it's like a regular cleaning, because a lot of times that inflammation in the mouth it's due to the buildup that you have and the bacteria that's in the buildup that's causing the gums to be inflamed. So a lot of times that's the first line of defense that you do, is to get that stuff all cleaned up, and then you could kind of like see where it kind of like goes from there.
Well, I get them cleaned twice a year. They do that with your showing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And thanks so much. 202-588-0893, 202-588-0893. Allergies, environmental sensitivities, autoimmune diseases, those kind of things can also affect the mouth, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, definitely. Those things that affect the rest of the body could definitely affect the mouth. So if you have like some allergies, or if you have like some allergic reactions to anything, you're able to see that in your mouth. What's really interesting too is that the mouth is a reflection of what's happening in the rest of the body. So you could see what's happening systemically in the rest of the body by looking in the patient's mouth. So you can tell if the patient has like a high blood pressure, if the patient has diabetes, if the patient has like any kind of like allergies or those sorts of things, by looking at the tongue, the inside of the mouth, the gums and the teeth and all of those things. It's really interesting.
That's fantastic. Getting a little education here. 202-588-0893. We're talking to Dr. Victor, Dr. Terry Victor, and Dr. Victor is a holistic dentist, and he is really helping to enlighten us that dentistry is more than just pulling and filling. Let's go back to our phones. Yes, caller, you're on the line.
Thank you, Dr. Watkins, for taking my call. I have a couple questions for Dr. Victor. One is, if a person is considering dental implants, should one go to a prosthodontist, an oral surgeon, or a general dentist with qualified experience? And the second question would be, I've been reading about how the bacteria in the mouth around the teeth, can have a systemic effect that can cause inflammation in your body, heart attack, strokes, and that some dentists are testing for this particular bacteria and treating accordingly. And do you do that testing for the bacteria in your office? And I'll take your answer off air. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Great questions. For us, if we're placing implants, we have, you had mentioned an oral surgeon or a general dentist. The person that does a lot of implants is the periodontist. So we have a specialist, a periodontist, that comes to our office to place our implants for us. She's very good. She's been doing it for like years and years, and she works she teaches at Howard University. So I would, for me in particular, it would be the periodontist that places the implants. And then, as far as like inflammation and infection in your mouth, I don't know of a particular test that would do that. Sometimes what they do is that they put, there's a space between your gums and your tooth. And sometimes there's like some fluid that's down in there. And I know some people that put a probe down in there and get some of that fluid in there, and then they can send it to the lab to know a particular kind of bacteria that you have. But for us, I think that it's not so much which particular bacteria, but any bacteria that you have can be detrimental to you. So let's just clean the whole thing up, as opposed to just focusing on maybe just one bacteria that would cause an issue, because none of them are really good. So just clean the whole thing up.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. 202-588-0893, 202-588-0893. Let's go back to our phones. Yes, caller, you're on the line. Yes, caller. Yes, you're on the line.
Okay, I was calling to find out about gingivitis.
Gingivitis.
Which is closely related, I think, to what you were just talking about, but I wanted to know about prevention and heredity and natural preventatives.
What can we do to prevent and treat gingivitis?
To prevent and treat gingivitis. Well, gingivitis, what gingivitis is probably like the first stage of periodontal disease, which is gum disease, or what they used to call pyorrhea. So because it's the first stage, it means that you're able to maybe take care of it a little bit more better than an advanced stage. So if you have gingivitis, then what you would do is the first thing is to do, like I said before, is to get your teeth cleaned. A lot of times what happens is that just that simple cleaning of the teeth will resolve that gingivitis. And then we'll show you how it is that you do your brushing, your flossing, how it is that you take care of it from then on. But if it's simple gingivitis, it can be taken care of very easily. If it's periodontal disease, or like I said, pyorrhea, then that's a little bit more involved because it's a more advanced stage of the gum disease. That takes a little bit more deeper cleaning and some other things that we have to do to get that resolved.
If you've started down that road, is there things that you can do to help to bring the gums back?
Yes, there's once you get everything cleaned up, and once you're able to get, there's some things that you can do, like electric toothbrush actually works really well. Electric toothbrush, there's like some mouth rinses that you could do, some irrigation that you can do. All of those things work really well, and you could bring it back to a place of stability, to bring it back into balance, so that you're able to function well, you're able to keep the teeth that you have. Because with gum disease, that's one of the byproducts of gum disease, is that you end up losing your teeth. And we really don't want to lose teeth. We really want to keep as much as we can.
All right. This is very, 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 very interesting. And as you can see, so many people are affected by it. The number here is 202-588-0893, 202-588-0893. This is Dr. Theodore Watkins. The program is To Your Health. Let's go back to our phones. Yes, caller, you're on the line. Yes, caller, you're on the line.
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, yes. I did get it prompt. I was back in when I used to work at, I damaged my tooth, and they put like a false tooth in there with like a spike or something. I had to come back 2 procedures. Hello?
Yes. Yeah, we here.
Yeah, and then over the years,
is your radio on? If so, turn your radio off. I think we're getting a little feedback there.
Yeah, I'm on a cell phone. That might have something to do with it too. But over the years it turned dark around it, and I'm getting a lot of odor and stuff from my mouth. And I was wondering what can you do about that?
Okay. So usually,
matter of fact, it's gotten loose. I need to go to the dentist and have it taken care of. But it's like dirt. You know how your gum turns dark around there?
Yeah.
And I think that has a lot to do with like the odor I'm getting from my mouth.
Right. Once you start to get like an odor like that, it means that the tooth is like breaking down. And once it starts to turn dark like that, it means that it's breaking down. So it's just like any other tissue that you have in your body. If it's injured and it starts to break down, it's gonna have an odor. Just like if you have a sore on your arm or something like that, it's gonna have an odor. So really, what you want to do, and with that odor comes infection, inflammatory process, and all of that kind of stuff. So you really want to get that looked at, and especially if it's starting to get loose, which means the connection between the tooth and the bone that's holding that tooth, it might be that connection might be compromised. So I would suggest that you really get that taken care of.
Okay, so should I go back through the same procedure? Because I think it was like a 2-stage procedure where they went in there and they put this like spike or whatever. Then you come back and put the tooth in, or should I just do something all different?
They would have to evaluate, wouldn't they?
Yeah, It's hard for me to determine that. I think you need to get somebody to look at it, because if there's a problem like you're saying, it sounds like something is happening, especially if it's loose.
Okay. Now that I let that happen, the discoloration and damage done to, is that reversible, or have I permanently damaged my gum by letting it go?
Yeah, it depends on the situation. Sometimes if you're able to, if it hasn't gone down far, then sometimes you're able to clean it out and it can be okay. But it depends, because I think that you really need to go get it taken a look at.
And it sounds to me from what you were saying earlier that I guess I'll put a plug here that you need a dentist that was going to approach this thing from a holistic perspective, because you need to do more than just dig in the teeth. You need to look at the whole body.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Right. Okay. A couple other things. Y'all had touched on a couple of things about the root canals, because I remember I got root canals. I never thought about what damage it was doing. So you're saying that it's best not to get a root canal versus something else, or if necessary, that you have to get the root canal, or you shouldn't get the root canal. I didn't really understand that.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that you shouldn't get a root canal. I'm saying that the situation needs to be evaluated. Sometimes there's some things that can be done to avoid a root canal. I think for our office and our philosophy, ultimately we would like to avoid a root canal. Sometimes it's unavoidable that you have to get a root canal. But I think that if it can be avoided, then it should be avoided.
And that's based on what? I mean, what happens when you get a root canal versus not getting one?
Okay, so when you get a root canal, then the tooth is completely, it doesn't have a connection to the rest of the body. So,
right. Well, I understood how you defined it. What I mean is, if you get a root canal, what damage do you get versus not getting one?
So that's the damage is the damage that's done to the tooth. So the damage is that tooth is no longer connected. So you don't have that connection. The body can't send any kind of message to that tooth. The body can't send any kind of material. The tooth is on an island by itself. Yeah, it's just sitting there. It's by itself, and the body can't do anything to assist that tooth to do anything because you've completely separated the connection.
And that hurts you because you no longer can feel it, or I mean, how does it hurt you as far as not having it done?
Well, what happens is that like I said before, that tooth is just there. What you really want, the ideal situation that you want is that everything to be connected to your body, all different parts of your body to be connected, right? So if there's something that's happening in that particular part, your body, if it needs to send anything there, your body can send it there and it can help that part of the body. The way that that a root canal might be detrimental is that there's no longer a connection there. But like I said before, sometimes it's necessary to do that if you want to save the tooth. Yeah, it's unavoidable.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay. One other question before. Are there things on the market? They have certain things on the market that you can rinse your mouth out with. Are they really any good, or are they just not really doing anything?
You mean the mouth rinse?
Mouth rinses, they guarantee your breath be good for the whole 24 hours, and then there's ones that say that they help your tooth decay or whatever.
Right.
Is that mostly advertisement, or is there actually something on the market that's beneficial to rinse with?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, there's some mouth rinses that are out there that are really good. You really want to watch out for the mouth rinse. Something that doesn't have any alcohol in it, something that doesn't have a lot of chemicals in it, something that doesn't have any sugars in it. All of those things are good, and if it's the more natural stuff that is in there, the better, and that'll help the mouth rinse work well.
Why would a person want to use a mouth rinse in the first place?
Well, you'd want to use a mouth rinse just for something to clean to give you like an overall cleaning. The best, believe it or not, the best of all is simply brushing and flossing your teeth. That's better. But sometimes people feel like they want to have something like a mouth rinse to just kind of like, maybe, help them in their breath or something like that. But definitely there are some mouth rinses out there that can definitely help you.
So what is the best oral and hygiene practice that you can do?
Cut him off.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I know I'm stretching now, but this is my last question. What do you?
I'm sorry.
What's the best routine for you to do as far as brushing the teeth and rinsing your mouth? Is it best to just use natural stuff, or?
Yeah. So the best routine for you to do is the brushing and the flossing. So you brush, let's say at night, right? You also need to brush in the morning, but at night you brush and then you floss, and then you don't eat anything after that. So you can maybe have like some water, but nothing to eat, nothing to drink that'll put anything back on your teeth. Because what happens is that when you sleep at night, it's an ideal environment for bacteria. Your mouth is closed, it's a wet, damp, dark environment, and bacteria really likes that. So you want to keep it as clean as possible so that the bacteria doesn't get worse. That's why when you get up in the morning, sometimes, you might have like some breath issues because the bacteria has proliferated.
He when he started talking about the rinsing and so forth and the brushing, fluoride is an issue that has been discussed. They want children to use fluoride to protect their teeth, but then there's some negative aspects of fluoride. How do you address fluoride?
For us, fluoride is something that I don't generally recommend in my office, because what happens is that fluoride is supposed to make your teeth healthier, or fluoride is supposed to make your teeth harder, so less bacteria gets on your teeth, so that you don't have cavities, is what fluoride is supposed to do. But what I've found and what I've been taught in school is that bacteria or cavities are caused by bacteria. And if you're able to keep your teeth clean and free of that bacteria, then you don't get the cavities that you would get if you didn't do that. So for us, our patients don't have any problems with like a lot of decay, and we don't use fluoride at our office, and it's been fine. There's other areas in the country that are non-fluoridated, and they don't have rampant decay in their community either. So for us, that's the deal with fluoride.
And fluoride, it can be very negative. I know when I was studying iodine and the importance of iodine in the body, I read that fluoride really helps to change iodine so that it's not as effective.
Yeah, that could be so. And you know how much we use iodine in our body is very important to our body. Yeah.
Number is 202-588-0893, 202-588-0893. Let's go back to our phones. Yes, caller, you're on the line.
Hi. Hello.
Yes.
Yes, I've been listening. I'm a senior, and I have really a lot of issues with my teeth. I hardly have any left. And I would like to know how to get in touch with the dentist.
So if someone wanted to reach you, how could they reach you?
My office is in Capitol Hill by Eastern Market, and they could reach us by calling 202-544-3626. That's the number at the office.
Say that again.
544-202. I'm sorry, 544-3626.
26.
Yeah.
And it's at Capitol Hill, you say?
I'm sorry.
Where's your office?
The office is in Capitol Hill, right by Eastern Market Metro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I will be in touch, because I would like to have a dentist that is holistic.
Oh, great. We'd love to have
and
you.
sympathetic to my condition. Do you take Medicare?
No, well, Medicare doesn't cover dental.
Doesn't cover dental.
No, Medicare does medical.
Oh, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Medicaid doesn't cover it here? Neither?
Medicaid covers dental, but my office doesn't take Medicaid now.
Okay, so I'll talk to you and see what it is.
Okay.
I can afford.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
202-588-0893, 202-588-0893. Let's go back to our phones. Yes, caller, you're on the line.
Yes, Dr. Victor.
Yes.
How effective, or would you say that tooth whitening process and products, is that effective?
Yes, certainly tooth whitening is effective. There's so many different types of tooth whitenings that are out there. As we spoke about before, you could use something as simple as the charcoal. And there's something on the other end of the spectrum is what's the 1 day whitening, where that material is really kind of like very, very strong, and you put it on the teeth for an hour and it whitens your teeth. The whitening that we use is, I prefer to use the take-home whitening. So you have like a little tray that fits on your teeth, and you put the whitening material in there. And then what it does is that it, in about 5 days or so, you'll see a noticeable difference, and you have control over it so that you're able to whiten as much as you want, and it doesn't cause the same kind of like, sensitivity that you might get with the 1 hour one that's just very kind of like, it's a little bit, hard on your tissues.
I see. So you do offer tooth whitening in your office?
Yes, yes, we do.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Why would a person need whitening? What actually discolors the teeth?
Oh, very good question. Very good question. So what happens is that our teeth have these little, they're not quite solid, right? They have these little tubules in them. So what happens, as you get older and you eat, you drink, or whether you have like, let's say somebody who smokes or somebody who who drinks a lot of coffee or even something like curry or something like that, the material gets stuck inside of those little tubules, and what we end up seeing is that it ends up being darker. So as you find, sometimes people say that, as I've gotten older, my teeth are not as white as they used to be. Or you see like a young child, like the little babies that have maybe just gotten their teeth are like very white, or even the primary teeth, very white. But as we get older and as we start to use them more, they start to pick up the colors of different things that's in there. So for an aesthetic purpose, and sometimes people can get like their teeth can be very, very dark to the point where it becomes detrimental to their self-confidence, and so that they can get that back and it could look a little bit better.
So in addition to just the cosmetics, is there any negative impact as far as the health itself?
Yeah. No, I don't think so. Not for whitening. Not if you do it like on a relatively slow basis. Like I said, sometimes what you find with the one that's one for 1 hour is that you can get like some sensitivity. And if you get some sensitivity, it can irritate your gums, it can irritate your teeth when you drink stuff. And that's what I would say. Yeah.
I was reading something about jawbone osteonecrosis.
Oh, yeah.
And they were saying that's similar to, where you have problems in your hip, ischemic necrosis of the hip. Tell us, I mean, it sounded pretty major to me.
Yeah.
How frequent is something like that?
I'm not sure the frequency of it, but it does happen. So just like we were talking about for the hip, what happens is that it's almost like with bone tissue. Sometimes if it doesn't heal properly, it can get necrotic. So there might be a bone around it, but the inside part of it is like really the bone hasn't really hasn't healed properly, or it healed slower than the rest of the tissue in that area. So you almost kind of get like a hole. So anywhere that you have bone, that there has a potential for that happening. And then so we have the bone in our jaw. So sometimes it might happen, let's say for example, if you took a tooth out or something like that and it doesn't heal properly. So that's one of the things we're talking about diabetes, right? Because they don't heal as well as other people. So you really have to kind of like be aware of that with those sorts of people, that you're able to make sure that when you take that tooth out, that you're able to get that bone to heal back pretty well.
Fantastic. We're going to go back to our phones, take at least one more call. Yes, caller, you're on the line.
Yes, that's me, Dr. Watkins?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm glad to hear the program as usual, sir. Yes, I wanted to know, I have a 9-year-old, and right now we take him to a holistic dentist. We were lucky to find one in our area. And I wanted to know about x-rays, because the last couple of times we've gone there, she wants to take an x-ray of the 9-year-old's teeth, and I kind of refused it because I read of the harmful effect of x-rays on a young person's body. So can you give me some feedback on the x-rays?
Certainly. I think that the x-rays that are developed today, which is digital x-ray, well, I could only say from what we use, are digital x-rays. And digital x-rays have much, much, much less radiation than they did in the past. The other aspect of x-rays is that what the dentist sees is all that they can see. If they don't use x-rays, all that they can see is what they can see with their eyes. There's a lot more there's probably more happening underneath of the gums that you can't see with your eyes than you can see just out in the clinically. So I would definitely recommend x-rays. Sometimes people think that, you're holistic, you shouldn't have x-rays, but it's like you almost do the patient a disservice, because you're not doing a complete exam if you're doing x-rays. You can have any kind of growth or tumor or something underneath the gums and it looks fine. So for us, we take x-rays. We don't take x-rays, all the time. We don't take them when it's not necessary. But as far as me being a dentist and being able to treat all of my patients, I do take x-rays.
Yeah, I think that the point you're making is very, very significant, that you have to diagnose.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if you don't do a proper diagnostic workup, and monitoring, that you're actually doing the patient a disservice.
Yeah, you really.
So, but at the same time, the person has to be judicious and have to do it when it's indicated.
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that, because we don't want to be taking X-rays all the time, because for our staff and those sorts of things, you just want to take X-rays that are necessary.
All right.
I have another aspect of our office. I have another aspect of our office that is a little bit different. Is a little bit different than all of a lot of other dental offices, and that's that our office is all sustainable. It's all of the materials that's in the office, the lighting, the flooring, the paint, all of those. We have a green roof. All of those things that we do, we are wind powered. All of those things, so that we see that there's an importance in taking care of the earth, so that we're able to decrease our footprint on the earth and make things a little bit lighter. So I just wanted to mention that, because sometimes we talk about holistic dentistry and all of that, and for us that's a part of it also.
So I mean, you take this thing serious.
Yes, sir.
So once again, if someone wanted to reach you, how could they do it?
Our telephone number is 202-544-3626. The name of the practice is The DC Dentist, and it's 202-544-3626. Our website is www.thedcdentist.com in Capitol Hill by Eastern Market.
Well, we've really enjoyed this. I think it's been very informative, and I hope that my listeners are as pleased as I am.
Thank
and
you.
Certainly we're going to have you back again to answer more questions and to share. And anytime you have something fantastic coming up, then please let us know.
Definitely, we will. We will do that.
All right. This is Dr. Theodore Watkins. The program has been To Your Health. We're going to see you again next week.
Good afternoon and welcome to WPFW's Headline News. I'm Darnia Samuels. Here are your stories for the 3 o'clock hour. Heads up, DC drivers. If you travel on I-395 in non-rush hour times, like the late night or the midday, you might need to adjust your route or prepare for delays due to closures this week. The District Department of Transportation has announced daily shoulder and lane closures on I-395 over the next 5 days for DC's Sign Structure project on 395. Work will include installation of overhead traffic guide signs and lighting fixtures, and the replacement of some sign structures since some existing ones will be removed. The following lane and shoulders will close from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. daily, from Tuesday, January 14th through Friday, January 17th, weather permitting. These closures began, however, today from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I-395 or I-695, southbound and westbound, single left or right lanes between L'Enfant Plaza Southwest and 6th Street Southwest, single left lane between 4th Street Southwest and Center Leg Freeway. I-395, I-695, northbound, eastbound, single right lane and shoulder between Francis Case Memorial Bridge and 7th Street Southwest, single left lane and shoulder between the 9th Street Expressway and 4th Street Southwest, single left lane and shoulder between 7th Street Southwest and Center Leg Freeway. The following lanes and shoulders will close to traffic from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., starting tonight, January 13th, through Friday, January 17th, weather permitting. Single left or right lanes between Center Leg Freeway and 6th Street Southwest, and single left or right lanes between 7th Street Southwest and 4th Street Southwest. If some of that got by you, just know that from today through Friday of this week, there will be closures on I-395, daily from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and nightly from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. So adjust your routes accordingly. But if you're unable to, be prepared to encounter some delays and to drive cautiously past work crews. In other news, next Monday will be Martin Luther King Day, and one county in Alabama has decided to honor an interesting part of Dr. King's legacy, his last time in jail. Commissioners in Jefferson County, Alabama, adopted a resolution on Thursday to memorialize and preserve an area on the 7th floor of their county courthouse that used to be a jail. According to Jefferson County Sheriff Mark Petway, who's the first black sheriff in that county, Dr. King was held in the county jail in 1967. He was jailed 3 days for contempt after losing an appeal on his conviction for demonstrating without a permit years earlier. The former jail space in the county courthouse is currently used for storage and mechanical equipment. So county commissioners are unsure of exactly what part of the 7th floor Dr. King was held in, but Commissioner member LaShonda Roberts Scales said it was important to preserve what's left of the jail regardless, since Dr. King was there. She added, and I quote, "We believe that the public should have the right, for educational purposes, to know about King's last movements before he was assassinated." End quote. Lastly, in music news, go-go music will soon have its very own museum in the nation's capital. The Go-Go Music Museum is expected to open in late spring inside the Check-It Enterprises building on Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue Southeast in the Anacostia neighborhood, near the corner of Good Hope Road. The 2-level museum will include a cafe with food items named after go-go icons, a store offering go-go related merchandise, as well as indoor and outdoor performance spaces. The museum project recently received a $50,000 grant from the city, and now a GoFundMe campaign is underway to raise another $25,000 for exhibits and more. In today's weather, it's currently about 53 degrees and partly cloudy. Tonight, it's expected to remain cloudy with a low of 45 degrees. That's all for your headline news this hour. The news comes your way again at 3:55. Up next on 89.10 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 at 3:55. Up next